high, love.
I know data analytics to me as a high school student would be like, what? Why am I interested? So we're gonna show a little video. This is my dog, and I live in Arlington, right across the river, and we got all that snow. And my dog is like long and short, and he has a hard time navigating. He can't see the sidewalk, he's jumping all over the place. And this is kind of how I think about data analytics, right? You've got that chart that Darlene showed of a million different processes, and you've got to make sense of it all. So I think of data analytics as finding your way, right? And every day we find our way, whether it's managing your homework and your sports, and if you play an instrument, you've got to figure out how to balance your time, right? And then online, right? We spend half of our life online. If you've got a smartphone, you're watching Twitter and you're Googling things, and we'll talk a lot more about online. And then on the road. So maybe some of you are working on getting your license. So first you have to figure out how to drive the car, then you've got to figure out where you're going. There's a lot of different places where you're trying to figure out your way. So let's talk about online, because we've talked a little bit about cybersecurity. So you do a web search, right? Someone gives you an assignment, you don't understand what the teacher explained, and you Google it. You're using email with your teachers and your parents and your friends. You've got apps on your phone. You've got Facebook notifications. You've got streaming TV. You've got Twitter. And you're liking things all over the place. You're exchanging lots of information. You are the master of the internet. All these things are going on until it comes crashing down around you, because you've got so many things going on that you don't know what you're doing anymore. So okay, instead of just doing a web search, you put in your keywords, right? You don't just Google synthetic biology now. Maybe you Google synthetic biology, Darlene Solomon, and Jay Kiesling. And you're gonna narrow those things down to learn more about our medicine. Maybe on email you have filters. Google's doing this for us, right? You've got advertisements in real email, and they're already kind of weeding things out for you. You've got apps, and you don't put, you put maybe your learning apps in one page, and you can organize them on your phone or your iPad. You've got Facebook notifications, and you get a million of them, right? I learned that very quickly. People put everything out there. I don't need a ding on my phone every time someone posts something. So you kind of weed out who you want to hear from and who you don't, and which notifications you want to see. Streaming TV. How many people watch all the same shows as their parents? No. Right? So if you guys have different, maybe Netflix profiles, or your Hulu profile is different, and then Hulu and Netflix tell you what you might like to watch because of what you've other watched, all of this and your Twitter lists are data analytics. You're taking massive amounts of data and breaking it down into the things that you're interested in. So you're getting help making sense. Just like in life, maybe your parents drive you around, you work in a group on homework, you're getting help. On the road. I've got to use my one Lockheed Martin thing here as GPS satellites. Lockheed Martin makes satellites, not just planes. The GPS is telling you where to go. That's the satellite we put up. And then online. And you've got a whole team of people. This is a group of our folks actually doing cybersecurity and network data analytics, right? It's really frustrating when you go to stream that movie at home and it doesn't work. It's because the network's not balanced properly. My undergraduate was in electrical engineering. Well, we can talk about that later. And telecommunications, and we got to make sure that you can get the internet data that you want, right? And in order to do that, you're getting all of these other things that are already, there's so much stuff online, you've got all these other things confusing the issue, right? So you've got antivirus software running, and it's slowing down your computer, and it's not letting you go to websites. You've got websites popping up you don't want unless you've got your pop-up blocker on. And then you've got cookies that are going to remember who you are, and if you don't delete your cookies, do you know that every new web search is based on all your previous ones? So they're doing filtering for you without you even knowing it. And then you've got search engine optimization. There are people whose lives it is to look how search engines work to make sure that their thing pops up first. And how they do that is data analytics. They look at what keywords people use, and they look at what people's search histories are, and that way their product gets put up first when you go to search engine. So we've got all kinds of people doing data analytics, right? We've got the computer programmers, we've got biologists that are using it, like Darlene explained, and we'll talk a little bit more about the biologists now, because as Darlene said, it's the century of biology. I knew I loved biology when I went to school. They told me biology was memorization. I wanted nothing to do with that. I don't do well at memorization. I wasn't sure I wanted to be an engineer because I wasn't great at math, but I knew that engineers found out why, and they solved problems. So I started in engineering. So we'll talk about Hershey. I adopted Hershey, right? Adopt a pet, that was a great idea. Dogs are a lot of work, especially puppies. And I adopted this dog, and they told me that he was half Australian Shepherd. Great, they're smart dogs, they have lots of energy, and half poodle, which was important to me because I am allergic to some dogs, and he certainly could not be any collie. So these two apparently made this. I don't think so. So being an engineer and wanting to know how and why, of course I've got to go get my dog's DNA checked. So Hershey, exhibited something like Law and Order. I pull out the, you order it, you get this giant Q-tip, you scrape the inside of his mouth, you mail it in, and we wait. And no, he's not miserable because he's in an Eagles jersey, he's just miserable because he's sitting still. And they sequence the DNA. And we've heard a lot about this sequencing, right? So I think, do people have a good idea of what that means? Okay, yeah, we've heard all about DNA today. DNA is great. We've heard that we can translate those ACTGs into ones and zeros, and we know that we've got billions of base pairs. And I'm thinking, I paid $70, and they're gonna tell me what my dog is. That's a steal. How are they doing that? Well, they're not going through all 2.5 billion base pairs on my dog. Okay, that makes sense. They're looking at 321 known markers for specific breeds. So they've taken 2.5 billion and they've narrowed it down to what they want to look at. Again, this is what data analytics is. We're taking a giant meta set and looking down. They have to take those 321 markers and compare it to the 200 plus breeds they have on file. And from that, we get, he is indeed part miniature poodle. Who knew? He is Australian cattle dog, so we'll give them a close. And he is 1/8 Rottweiler. They are very explicit when they tell you the results, that your dog, what they look like is only a very small percentage of their makeup. So he is 1/8 of all these, leaving 5/8 of a bunch of other things. One of them being Catahoula leopard dog, which is what he looks like. If anyone walks up to me and they know what this dog looks like, oh, he's part Catahoula. He actually looks like a giant dachshund. He's short and long. And they came back and they said, we think he's gonna be 52 to 72 pounds. And I said, or 78 pounds. And I said, that's great. That was the exact size dog I wanted. But he's 11 months old and he's 28 pounds. So 28 pounds has some great advantages. I can pick him up when he gets on my nerves and put him in the tub and hold him, and he's not pulling me around the block. So that's great. But what that means is we thought we knew size, and we don't know it as well as we thought we did. Just looking at the breeds and the markers isn't enough to know what the size is. We thought that because he was part poodle, he might not shed as much. Jury's out. There's a lot of fur all over my house. He's got a ton of energy, not a surprise. Every single one of those breeds is bouncing around all over the place. I have no idea what his allergies are based on his genome. I don't know if you folks have studied allergies. We don't know if they're even passed down genetically in humans, let alone dogs. Some of them might be. And we might know his health, but most of the health studies are done on purebreds, right? Because people pay a lot of money for purebreds and they want to make sure their dog's healthy. So we have a lot more to learn. So let's talk a little bit about health in our genome, which I think we've talked a lot about today. So I won't go too much into this. You should be able to fill in some of these for me. So what did we learn about our health from our genome? Cancer screening, right? Angelina Jolie got her genome done, right? She had a double mastectomy because she had the gene. So there's some cancer screening that we're starting to do. There's deficiencies, and also the deficiencies and conditions. Sickle cell anemia, right? Where your red blood cells don't hold enough oxygen. That's a genetic trait. We can trace that. We could tell someone that. Predispositions. You know, my dad has heart disease. My brother got his cholesterol checked at age 4. He has high cholesterol. And it only goes down the male line in my family, genetic. So if we could get our genomes checked, my brother would probably have that, and I probably would not. Alzheimer's. There's a lot of things that run in families, and maybe we can change our diet, and we can change how much we exercise. My brother doesn't eat very much red meat. He exercises regularly because he knows that he's gonna have a problem. And thanks to modern science, my dad is the oldest living male in his line by 22 years now. So there's a lot that science can do. And if you can take that human genome, right? What if you could go to your doctor and get your genome analyzed? We heard a little bit about this from Craig Ventnor. And if you were educated on it and you understood what the percentages meant and you knew what the ratings meant, you know you could change your behavior to live a healthier lifestyle. So you can start taking control, but there's still a lot of science left to do. We don't know how big Hershey's gonna be. We couldn't predict that accurately. We still don't know, whether you're gonna have allergies or not, or how to treat them, or as, we heard other speakers talk about asthma. There's a lot left to do. And to do fields like bioengineering, I think a few other people already said it today, everybody needs to come together to solve problems. So I like to tell people that while I started as an electrical engineer, I got a degree in telecommunications, and I've worked for the same company for 12 years. And when I started out of college, I was like, I have no idea what I do want to do with my life, but I don't want to do the same thing every day for the rest of my life. And being an engineer gave me that opportunity. So what we're looking for you to do is stay interested, because you're still here at 410, you've got to have some interest, and start working on things, right? And I think hopefully what you found today is you've learned a little bit more about what science and engineering means. I know when I was your age, all I knew about engineers was that you had to be good at math, and I got a C on a lot of my first math tests. And I was a pretty good engineer, I think. So it was just because I knew what I wanted to work for. And we just want you to keep working for that and be inspired to go and do what you really enjoy in life.